The British didn't march on Lexington and Concord to seize pamphlets. They came for the powder and the guns. The revolution began on a village green where citizens stood armed against a government trying to disarm them. The founders branded that lesson into the Constitution so we would never forget free men keep their arms, subjects do not.
I have sworn upon the altar of God eternal hostility against every form of tyranny over the mind of man. They who can give up essential liberty to obtain a little temporary safety deserve neither liberty nor safety. Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God.
We bled in the fields, we froze in the snow.
So welcome back to the Modern Patriot Podcast. I'm your host, John Tiegen. This is episode 5. It's going to be a pretty fun one, pretty quick one, and a lot of information. This one is the founders' intent for the Second Amendment. So, the original content. This is some historical context I'm giving you guys. The Second Amendment was ratified in 1791, just years after the Revolution. The founders knew firsthand that an armed citizen was the difference between liberty and tyranny and subjection and everything else you can think of. Lexington and Concord, April 19th, 1775, a British general named Thomas Gage ordered his troops to seize colonial weapons and ammunition stored in Concord. The militia stood their ground on Lexington Green. The first shot of the revolutions were fired over gun confiscation. I can't talk. That memory was fresh in the founders' minds, so the founders had lived through tyranny that began with the disarmament of the civilization, of the populace, of the people. So this is what they put in the Second Amendment: a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So, key phrases: well-regulated. So, what it meant in the 18th century: it meant well-trained, well-functioning. Examples: in 1789, George Washington wrote of a well-regulated militia as one disciplined and prepared, not one under government micromanagement. A militia was defined in the Militia Acts of 1792 as each and every free, able-bodied male citizen ages 18 to 45 who was required to supply his own musket, ammunition, and gear. So in other words, it was the people themselves, not the government, not the mayor, not city council, not county commissioners, not a governor, the people themselves. Shall not be infringed is absolute language. No qualifiers, no exceptions. That's what it means. Again, this is what the founders wrote. This is what it meant when they wrote it. In the founders' own voice, George Mason, Virginia Ratifying Convention, 1788. To disarm the people is best and most effectual way to enslave them. Cox, Pennsylvania Gazette, February 20th, 1788. The militia of these free commonwealths are in fact the people themselves, their words in every terrible implement of the soldier. Their swords and every terrible implement of the soldier are the birthright of an American citizen. Patrick Henry, the great object is that every man be armed. Everyone who is able may have a gun. J. Madison, the Federalist Papers 46, argued that unlike Europe, in America, the advantage of being armed, which the American possesses over the people of almost every other nation, kind of read that wrong, I think, or wrote it down wrong, I should say. So the advantage of being armed, which the Americans possess over the people of almost every other nation, was the ultimate check of tyranny. Thomas Jefferson, a letter to William S. Smith in 1787, What country can preserve its liberties if their rulers are not warned from time to time that their people preserve the spirit of resistance? Let them take arms. Again, this is from our founders who just fought against tyranny, knew tyranny a lot more than we do, but we're getting the understanding of it, I believe. Again, it was priority to have a firearm. So the legal and structural proof, the Militia Act 1792 required every male citizen to keep a musket, a bayonet, 24 cartridges, powder, and flints. Again, the law didn't just permit it, it mandated armed citizens. Sometimes you would get fined if you were not armed, if you did not have a firearm, if you did not have the required cartridges of powder and flints. So some state constitutions in the 1700s, many echoed the Second Amendment. Pennsylvania, 1776, the people have a right to keep and bear arms for the defense of themselves and state. Vermont, 1777, that the people have a right to bear arms for the defense of themselves and the state. Proof the right was always seen as individual, plus a collective, not one or the other. So why did it exist? Why did it come about anyway? So defense against tyranny. The founders didn't trust a standing army. What do we have nowadays? Bunch of standing armies. We have the Marines, we have the Air Force, we got the National Guard. But again, the founders didn't trust standing armies. They trusted citizen militias as the safeguard of liberty. Madison Federalist 46, a militia of near 500,000 citizens with arms in their hands would be unconquerable by any federal force. So citizens versus federal force. This is from Madison, the Federalist Papers in 46. Every citizen should be armed. So the defense of the home. Daily life on the frontier was dangerous. Armed citizens defended against raids, bandits, and wild threats. Defense of the state. Unlike monarchies, where armies answered to rulers, militias answered to the people themselves because they were the people. The American difference. So in Europe, kings disarmed their subjects and kept power centralized. In America, power was inverted. The people kept arms and the government was limited to those arms. Not nowadays. Noah Webster, 1787. Before a standing army can rule, the people must be disarmed. The whole body of the people are armed and constitute a force superior to any band of regular troops. So when they want to, I'll keep going. I don't want to get off a tangent right now, but here's some quotes from our founders. George Washington, a lot of us know this, but anyways, free people ought not only to be armed, but disciplined. But here, the thing is, we lack a lot of discipline. That was at the first annual address to Congress in 1790. So arms weren't optional then. They were essential for freedom and to allow us to remain secure, remain free. So the Second Amendment wasn't about hunting or sport. Quit bringing that crap up when you go up to these city councils or up to the Capitol and talk about, oh, I need my hunting. Stop it. You look really stupid, honestly, because that just shows that you do not know what you're talking about. And it has nothing, it never had anything to do with sports. So it's the same damn thing. Quit looking stupid. Bring only facts, because you start bringing hunting and sport, they're just laughing in their head because they know more about it than you do, obviously. So stop bringing that crap up. So it was the Second Amendment was a direct response to tyranny written by men who had fought off the world's strongest empire because they were armed. It's enshrined. It's a principle. Liberty dies when citizens are disarmed. Do not allow them to disarm us. We got to keep fighting back. So, what our founders knew. English Bill of Rights. After the Glorious Revolution, English subjects, mainly Protestants, were affirmed a right to have arms for their defense suitable to their condition. The founders saw this as proof that arms are a political right tied to liberty, not a mere hunting privilege. So look that up. English Bill of Rights. 1689. Blackstone, 1765-69, self-defense scribed as a primary law of nature. For the founders, the right to arms flowed from the duty of self-preservation. We got to start pushing back against these freaking liberal nut jobs, nimwits, whatever the hell you want to call them. So, the powder alarm, the British disarmament. This is before Lexington. The powder alarm, September 1st, 1774. General Gage seized colonial powder from a magazine magazine near Boston. General Gage seized colonial powder from a magazine near Boston. Within hours, thousands of militia mobilized. No battle, but a shockwave. Disarmament was coming. They knew it. They saw it. Armed embargoes. British policies restricted import of gunpowder and arms to the colonies. Colonists responded by stockpiling and organizing local committees. Ratification era demands and proposal. So Pennsylvania minority, December 1787, proposed a Bill of Rights, including the people have a right to bear arms. Standing armies in peacetime are dangerous. This is what they thought about standing armies. This is why, again, the militia is we the people. New Hampshire, 1788, proposed that Congress shall never disarm any citizen unless such as are or have been in actual rebellion. So it took you to actually be part of a rebellion to be disarmed. That's definitely changed nowadays. Virginia and North Carolina Convention. Debates repeatedly treated the militia as the people and insisted arms remained in citizens' hands to check federal overreach. Let me say that again. Virginia and North Carolina Convention. Debates repeatedly treated the militia as the people and insisted arms remain citizens' hands to check federal overreach. George Mason, who are the militia? They consist now of the whole people except a few public officers. Well-regulated. Here's a little bit of evidence. So period usage, well, we talked about earlier. Well-regulated appears in 18th century writing that means in proper working order, like a well-regulated clock. Military context, Washington and Knox pushed for discipline and uniformity in training. The regulation was about readiness and function, not government throttling, not government management, not anything with the government. Had nothing to do with that. Militia culture and duty, muster days. Every able-bodied citizen was expected to appear for periodic training with their own arms and cartridges. Again, they had to provide their own weaponry. Fines were levied for failure to appear, failure to maintain a working firearm, lack of ammunition. Home storage. Powder and ball were commonly kept at home. Many towns also maintained magazines. The idea of centralized government, armories holding everyone's weapon would have been seen as a control risk. So more state-level arms, the founding and early republic. North Carolina, 1776, the people have a right to bear arms for the defense of the state, for themselves and the state. Massachusetts, 1780, recognized the people's right to keep and bear arms for the common defense, reflects civic duty. Kentucky, 1792, and Ohio, 1802, for the defense of themselves and the state, explicitly naming self-defense plus a common defense. On the frontier in household defense. So their practical life, traveling between towns, protecting livestock, defending isolated homesteads, meant firearms or tools for survival. Part of a daily kit alongside of an axe, a plow, a cow, a door, a window, and a lantern. Community security. Sheriffs and constables were few. Neighbors mustered to pressure raiders or criminals. kind of like a neighborhood watch, which people don't do anymore. The armed household was the first responder. Just like today, we are the first responders. I know we like saying, law enforcement and all them. They're pretty much the second, third, fourth, fifth responders in some cases. You are your own first responder, so start acting like it. So again, back in the day, community security, the neighbors mustered themselves to pursue raiders or criminals. I think we need to start doing that nowadays, and I think sheriffs and law enforcement, police chiefs need to start backing the community so they feel empowered to start going after criminals themselves. Start backing them up. The criminals have more rights than pretty much any law-abiding citizen does after they commit a crime. It's freaking asinine. To me, once you commit a crime, you have no more rights. That's my opinion. It's freaking ridiculous. Maybe not no more rights, but holy crap, man. You get a bump on your head and you can freaking sue the city for millions. And I'm sorry, the city should be suing your ass and your family's ass for millions. Anyways, the founders' logic in one little quick little chain. Rights pre-exist government. People institute government to secure those rights. Government tends to expand. Armed citizens plus local militia equal a final check, therefore shall not be infringed. So the founders weren't coy, from the English to the I'm just dumbfounded just thinking about what just happened recently with the recent shooting. It's just kind of went through my mind as I was starting to read what I wrote down. But from English presidents to the powder alarm to state constitutions and militia day, the record is crystal clear. Arms in the people's hands were the firewall against tyranny and the backbone of public safety. But over time, enemies of liberty blurred definition, twisted quotes, and tried to shrink a right into a privilege. So again, we got to stop that crap. It's a right. It's not a freaking driving. It's not a privilege. Driving a freaking car is a privilege, but everybody acts like it's a freaking right, and it's not. So next up, I'm gonna dive into some of the biggest myths and misquotes about the Second Amendment and why and pretty much give you the firepower to show how they can fall apart. And just with our own founders' words, I'm going to try to be quick with it, so I'll be right back.
You stood your ground when hope was thin. You bled for those you'd never see again. So I prayed with the smoke still in the sky. Rest now, brothers, will carry the fight. The radio's quiet, the stars overhead. The echo still ringing from the words never said. No headlines, no glory, no answers at night.
Lies have a long half-life. Over 250 years, enemies of liberty have tried to bury the Second Amendment under myths, half-truths, and twisted grammar. They say it's about hunting. It's not. It's not about sports. They say it only covers muskets. It doesn't. It doesn't even just cover cannons, because it does cover cannons. They say the militia is the National Guard. The National Guard never existed back then, or that the commas mean the right is the collective. Each of these claims is a complete fraud, and every one of them collapses under the weight of the founders' own words, the state constitutions of the time, and the ruling of the Supreme Court. So I'm going to jump right into this thing, try to get through it fairly quick. You can rewatch this whole thing. So myth 1. Anti-gun activists argue the Second Amendment was meant for hunting or sporting purposes. For the record, the text never mentions hunting, sport, or a game. It speaks directly to the security of a free state and the right of the people to keep and bear arms. Hunting wasn't controversial in the 18th century. It was a daily life, like breathing, farming, chopping wood, protecting it in the Constitution. Sorry, what I'm trying to say. Trying to protect farming, chopping wood, or even breathing in the Constitution would have been like writing a right to breathe. Kind of said that too fast. Anyways, so Understanding Thomas Cooley, 19th century scholar, the right of the people to keep and bear arms was never intended for sporting purposes, but for the defense of the country and person. His commentary became the standard for constitutional law, which seems to be ignored. St. George Tucker, maybe Tucker Carlson's brother, I don't know, 1803, called arms the true defense of liberty. He explained the right was a safeguard against tyranny, not a hunting license. So I beg you people, quit bringing hunting up when you go and testify against these stupid gun laws. Because you're just as stupid as the law they're trying to pass, in my opinion. It's freaking annoying. Anyways, the state constitution. Pennsylvania, 1776. The people have a right to bear arms for the defense of themselves and the state. Vermont, 1777. Identical language. North Carolina, 1776. The people have a right to bear arms for the defense of the state. Not one mention of hunting. Not one mention of sporting. Nothing. Defense, self-defense, preservation of the state. It all mentions defense. So our founders' writings, George Mason, 1788, to disarm the people is the best and most effectual way to enslave them. Cox, 1788, their swords and every terrible implement of the soldier are the birthright of an American. I'm going to do this one again because I didn't really know about this quote until I started doing this little thing that I'm doing, whatever you want to call it. But again, Cox, 1788, their swords and every terrible implement of the soldier are the birthright of an American. Every terrible. So again, it doesn't mean it. Obviously, he's talking about weapons of war, people. So when people say, oh, you shouldn't have weapons of war, well, in 1788, they thought you should. I wonder why. So Noah Webster, 1787, warned that disarmament came before tyranny, since the whole body of the people are armed. So a little context. Firearms were, this is daily life back then. Firearms were survival tools. Yes, for hunting, but also for the defense of criminals, wild animals, and hostile forces. The real fear in debate was government overreach, not losing a deer during deer season. It had nothing to do with that. A little judicial, I'm never going to say this word right ever in any of these podcasts, so get over it, people. Judicial clarity. Heller, 2000, I'm going to bring up Heller quite a bit. Heller, Scalia rejected the hunting only idea. Again, 2008, hunting only was rejected. He held the Second Amendment protects arms for traditionally lawful purposes, such as self-defense within the home. Hunting may be lawful, but it's not. It doesn't mean anything. It has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. So hunting was as obvious as breathing. The founders weren't writing a deer license when they wrote the Second Amendment. They were writing a freedom of safeguard. A freedom against tyranny, a freedom against being robbed, a freedom from being a victim. That's what the Second Amendment was for. Myth number 2, they argue militia refers to the National Guard, meaning the right belongs to state governments. I love this one. So when people say that, here you go. The National Guard wasn't even created until 1903, well over 100 years after the Second Amendment was written. In the founders' era, militia meant all able-bodied citizens. George Mason, 1788. I asked, sir, what is a militia? It is the whole people except a few public officers. The Militia Act of 1792 required every able-bodied free male 18 to 45 to arm himself with a musket, bayonet, cartridge, and powder. The government did not supply the arms to the citizens. The citizens already owned it. And again, I read it earlier. I said it earlier, and I read it, sorry. You would get fined if you did not have this stuff if you're between the age of 18 and 45. Wonder why? So the founders, Hamilton, Federalist Papers 29, a large body of citizens stand ready to defend their rights. Doesn't say a large body of the National Guard, does it? Doesn't say the large body of the United States Marine Corps, United States Army, United States Air Force, Coast Guard, no, it says a large body of citizens stand ready to defend their rights. That private citizens, that's private citizens, not guards, people. Cox, 1789. The second confirms to the people their right to keep and bear private arms. State constitutions. There's a couple more, but Pennsylvania, 1776, Vermont, 1777. The people have a right to bear arms. So more judicial clarity. Heller, again, 2008. The Second Amendment protects an individual right unconnected with the militia service. 2008. Second Amendment protects an individual's right unconnected with the militia service. Miller, 1939, which is often misquoted. The court only asked if a weapon had a militia utility. It did not say the militia was the guard. Let's go look that one up a little bit more. So, little historical stuff. Colonial militias were citizens showing up with their own gear, getting their own gear. There was no federal armory handing out weapons. They weren't going to the local marshal, local sheriff, not even the local church. They brought it with themselves. So the militia wasn't the guard. The guard is government. The militia was and still is the people, and the right belongs to the people. All right, myth 3. Some say well-regulated means subject to strict state control. I love this one too. I love it all. So, 18th century meaning of well-regulated means well-functioning, well-trained, in proper order, just like a well-regulated clock. It's not government licensed. Samuel Johnson, 1755. It's in the dictionary. Regulate, to adjust by rule or method. Noah Webster, 1828 dictionary, to put in good order. So the amendment's operative command is shall not be infringed. Training and readiness are expected. Disarmament and disablement were forbidden. So here's some context for you. Richard Henry Lee, 1788. A well-regulated militia meant the people properly armed and disciplined. George Washington praised militias that were well-regulated, disciplined, trained, and ready, but not micromanaged by the government. No government regulations. No government even training. So another judicial clarity for you all. Heller, 2008, explained a well-regulated meant effective and disciplined, not restricted by laws. So well-regulated meant well-trained and ready, not government-controlled. Myth 4, the right covers flintlocks only. So for the record, the Constitution protects principles, not outdated tech. Free speech isn't just quills. So the founders knew about tech advancement. They had air rifles back then, 1779, a 20-plus shots carried by Lewis and Clark. They had a puckle gun, 1718, that's an early repeating firearm. And the Ferguson rifle, 1776, was a breech-loading firearm. So Madison's Federalist 46 spoke, the advantage of being armed compared to Europe, no limit to muskets. Another judicial clarity. Heller, 2008, protects all bearable arms commonly used for lawful purposes. I guess I can use a fighter jet for a lawful purpose, I guess. Take out some drug cartels on the border or something like that. Maybe some Trendy, Glogway, whatever, up in Aurora. Maybe drop a bomb or two. I don't know. Anyways, stun guns, they weren't invented back then. I think they weren't invented until like centuries later. They're protected under the Second Amendment. So again, technology does not is not limited to the Second Amendment. You can, again, laser guns, they're going to be coming out, so they're going to be protected as well. The rights don't expire just because their technology changes. So myth number 5, AR-15s are military and should be protected and stay that way. So Heller rejected military use as a test. The standard is common use by law-abiding citizens. AR-15s. There's tens of millions owned. The most common rifle in America and really around the world, honestly. And, you know, it's not a weapon of war. Anything is a weapon of war, too. You know, you can't even put a definition on a weapon of war because any weapon can be used as a weapon of war. Yeah, I mean, freaking your household cleaning supplies can technically be labeled as weapons of war. You really want to get down and dirty with some dirty bombs. So here's some context for you. Some Cokes. I'm going to spell as Tenchcoxe, Tenchcoxe. 1788 said citizens' birthright included every terrible implement of the soldier. So again, it wasn't that kind little gentle flower that the soldier picks. It's the thing that protects him against the enemy, against the tyranny. Anything he can use as a defense against the tyranny, against the enemy. So colonists owned muskets, rifles, pistols, and even cannons, Joe Biden. So there was no such thing as civilian or military weapons. They were all the same. There was nothing that divided them back. And there's nothing that divides them here. I mean, I guess you could argue like tanks, Patriot cruise missiles, and all the other bullcrap, some, you know, Predator drones, but you can actually buy all that crap. Just letting you all know. So some more judicial clarity. I might actually get this word right one of these days. And I'm not going to try to read what this one is, but in 2006, Justice Alito, ALITO, reminded the states that the second extends prima facie to all bearable arms. I probably didn't say that right, but anyways, that's PRIMAFACIE. Congressional debates, 1934 NFAs. I think NFAs are bullcrap. It's just a way for the government to get their own registry, and to me, it's unlawful. But anyways, 1934 NFA. Even then, lawmakers emphasized the militia was expected to have ordinary military equipment. 1934. So common use, lawful purpose, that's the test. ARs pass it every single time. So again, this is the stuff that you need to use when you go fight up at the hill against these gun grabbing douchebags. Not hunting, not sporting. So another little myth, number 6, pre-factory clause limits the rights to militia service. This has to do with the whole comma crap. Grammar, pre-factory clause states purpose, not limitation. Lindley Murray's English Grammar 1795 shows examples that with identical structure, judicial clarity, Heller pre-factory clause explains purpose, does not limit the operative clause. Purpose explains, it doesn't erase. So is what they're saying, again, like the commas between well-regulated militia, the people, that's what they're trying to use. They're trying to say it's an extension of, but it's not. It's always been used. Look up all the other rights in the that's been written down. The First Amendment, they all have commas. The people, the Second Amendment, it's not separate. Anyways, myth 7: states can ignore it. So the second isn't incorporated. For the record, McDonald versus Chicago 2010 incorporated the second against state through the 14th Amendment. Justice Thomas argued it should also be through the privilege of immunities clause. So the second binds states also. Chicago learned it the hard way. Obviously, it seems like they're still doing it. You people in Chicago better fight back. Even the fact that you have to fight back is even sad. So, myth number 8, shall not be infringed doesn't mean what it says. That's what they always say. That's not really what it means. So, for the record, Johnson Dictionary back to 1755, infringe equaled to violate, break, or transgress. Patrick Henry, 1788, the great object is that every man be armed. The court recognized historically grounded limits, bans for felons, the mentally ill, carrying sensitive places. I guess that's liberals places, colleges, liberals. Conditions on commercial sales, which again, a lot of stuff I still disagree with, because you can even own a cannon back in the day. You shouldn't even have to, anyways. So judicial clarity, the 2022 test equals historical tradition. If it lacks precedence, it's unconstitutional. So if there's no history for it, there's no green light for it. Myth 9, the 2A protects only the common defense. State constitutions, Kentucky, sorry for the record, state constitutions, Kentucky, 1792, the right to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state. Pennsylvania and Vermont, 1776, the same. John Adams, 1787, arms in the hands of citizens may be used in private self-defense. So again, even the judicial branch, self-defense is the core lawful purpose. So individual self-defense isn't an extra, it is the actual core. Here's what they try to use. The people is vague. Myth number 10, the phrase limits rights. So this is kind of what I said a little bit earlier. For the record, the First Amendment, Second and Fourth all use the people for individual rights. Joseph Story, 1833, called the right to bear arms the right of the liberties of the Republic. Verdugo in another case, 1990, the people means national community of individuals. So the people means what it always has always meant. You, me, all of us, even the idiots. So myth number 11, Miller erased the right. So the claim that U.S. versus Miller, 1939, said only militia arms are protected. So for the record, the court said, this is kind of one of the things I was talking about a little bit earlier, the absence of evidence. We cannot say that the second guarantees the right to keep and bear arms, this weapon. Heller clarified Miller, it assumed an individual right and simply asked for proof of military utility. So Miller didn't erase the right, it just asked for evidence. So myth 12, I think this is the last one. So carrying outside the home can be banned. They try this a lot in a lot of states. So they say the right ends at your doorstep. Well, the founding practice, again, this is for the record, open carry was normal. Restriction targeted actually concealed weapons to stop ambushes, not public carry. So that's why, again, when you have to go get I don't think you'd have to have a license, but this is kind of why they had it. So, if you want to conceal carry, they need to know who you were. This is why they did it, because of public ambushes and stuff that are going on. Actually, you still see it nowadays. So I wonder if these people who are committing these mass shootings, do they have a concealed carry license? Are they going to get, even if they're dead, are they going to get fined for not having concealed carry? And the crap is stupid. Anyways, so Blackstone, 1755, the natural right of resistance and self-defense preservation. In 2022, New York was struck down, May issue regime that required showing proper cause to carry. The court held ordinary law-abiding citizens have a right to carry handguns in public for self-defense. So again, the state, you shouldn't have to prove why you need to carry. So the right to keep and bear arms means the right to carry them, not just keep them under the glass, behind your house, in your car. They're meant to be carried, people. So again, hopefully you can kind of rewatch this stuff, write this crap down. I know I'm trying to go through it fairly quick, but this is the stuff that you need to bring up when you go and testify to fight against these gun grabbers. The true history, the true facts. Don't be using the crap about, I need to go hunting, I gotta go kill my turkey, or I got a 3-gun competition. Stop. Has nothing to do with that. Stick to the facts of what the Second Amendment was designed to do and what it's there for, to keep these governments in check, to keep these criminals in check. That's all it's for. That's what it's designed to do. So Heller, 2008, the Second Amendment conferred an individual right to keep and bear arms. The inherent right of self-defense has been central to the Second Amendment right. McDonald, 2010, the right is the fundamental to our scheme of ordered liberty and applies to the states as well. The government must justify regulation by pointing to historical traditions. Courts may not engage in interest balancing. Arms, not in extension at the time of the founding, are also protected. Doesn't matter if they come up with lasers. It doesn't matter. So the lies don't stand. The militia was the people, well-regulated, trained, not throttled. The right belongs to every individual American, not the damn government. It covers modern arms and common use and binds the states as much as Congress. Courts from Heller to Bruen have confirmed that the founders shouted in plain English, liberty dies when citizens are disarmed. So now the question isn't whether the myths are false, it's why the truth still matters today. I think I'm going to dive into this a little bit, but I'm going to look at more evidence, a little bit history warning, some modern defense use, and why the Second Amendment remains freedom's last safeguard.
Welcome home, warriors, what a firefight. 13 hours holding fast through the night while they sat in shadows hidden from the fray. We fought, we bled, we led the way. Coffee coaster reward, that was our praise for a 13-hour stand and the lives we tried to save. But we still stood tall, remembering their names.
So why does the Second Amendment still matter? The core purpose, it's self-defense and liberty. So Supreme Court said it plain. The Second Amendment protects an individual's right in self-defense and core lawful purpose of self-defense is the core lawful purpose of that right. I'm trying to go too fast. So the District of Columbia versus Heller, this is some of the stuff I was quoting earlier, 2008, the inherent right of self-defense has been central to the Second Amendment right. That's what you guys got to bring up. McDonald versus Chicago, 2010, the court held that right is fundamental to our scheme of ordered liberty and binds states and cities, not just Congress. Another one, I think it's New York SRPA. I forgot what that was, but versus Bruen, Bruen, in 2022. Ordinary law-abiding citizens have the right to carry in public. If a government wants restrictions, it must prove they fit within the nation's historical traditions. No more interest balancing. So again, if it wants restrictions, it has to prove historical value, historical traditions. So the bottom line is the second is not a relic. It's a living protection of liberty and defense at home, in the public, and against state overreach, of government overreach, whatever you want to call it. So number two, defensive gun use. This is the best data I could find. So even the government's own reviews admit armed citizens regularly stop crime. National Academies Institute of Medicine, 2004, defensive gun use estimates range from 60,000 to 2.5 million per year. They called for better data, but confirmed the scale is substantial. Hopefully one day we'll get more. They had another survey in 95, roughly 2.5 million annually. The Bureau of Justice from 2013 said 23% of violent crime victims who resisted with a gun used it defensively, and most actually without even firing a shot. So defensive gun use happens consistently, more often than a lot of people know, without shots even being fired. So, establishment reviews confirm that armed citizens regularly stop crime. So that whole thing when people say, oh yeah, the good guy with the gun, again, 60,000 to 2.5 million per year. They don't even know. That's a huge gap. So police, I was talking a little bit earlier, but police are minutes away. So that's reality, people. It's not rhetoric. It is, you are your first responder. So the Bureau of Justice statistics, police contact with the public is, it's in response time very widely. I think here in Colorado Springs, it's like 18 minutes if they show up at all. So there is no single national average. FBI uniform crime reports in 2020, fewer than half of violent crimes are cleared by arrest. Police mostly solve crime after the fact. So we like to call them our first responders. It's kind of an honor for them, but they are so overwhelmed. They're so undertrained. They're so the cities are outgrowing the infrastructure. You are your first responder. So even rural departments often have response time that stretch, like 30 minutes to an hour. What are you going to do if there's an armed burglar in your house or somebody with a knife coming at you? So, when seconds count, citizens' lives are in the gap. You are the gap. Be the gap. Fill it. The Second Amendment is the bridge until help arrives. Fill that gap, people. So, history's hard lessons. Disarmament enables tyranny. Authoritarians always move to disarm before they dominate. And I love it when the left called Trump, he's authoritarian, he's a dictator. If he was, we wouldn't be armed. So, Weimar in Nazi Germany, research by Stephen Holbrook shows gun registration lists were used in the 1930s to confiscate arms from unreliable people, especially Jews and political opponents. So why do you think we don't want registration? This is why. Ottoman Empire, Armenians were systematically disarmed before mass killings in World War II. Soviet Union, early registrations in the 1920s allowed Stalin's regime to confiscate firearms and suppress resistance. So America flipped the script. The founders put arms in the hands of the people to keep power balanced. So Koch's 1789, the ultimate power of the sword is not in the hands of either the federal or the state governments, but where I trust in God, it will ever remain in the hands of the people. That's where it needs to stay, plain and simple. So, modern clarity on what is protected. Heller, 2008, protects arms in common use by law-abiding citizens for lawful purpose. Somebody versus Massachusetts, 2016. Even stun guns, talked about earlier, a technology completely unknown and unthought of in 1791 are also covered. Why? Because the right is not frozen to just muskets. Historical arms show the founders knew tech evolved, talked about earlier. So again, they had, extended mags, 20 shot capacity. They had, breech loaders. They had puckle guns, repeating cannons. So to sit there and say, they didn't know about it, they knew about it. They actually encouraged the technology. George Washington pushed for the technology. Patrick Henry summed it up best. The great object is that every man be armed. Hope you guys can use this stuff. So here's a practical patriot skill test, or whatever you want to call it, for the week: fighting back. The second doesn't defend itself. It's we that keep it alive by action. So know your state laws. Track the magazine bans. May issue tricks, registration schemes. Bruen set the standard. Restrictions must have historical precedence. So again, stop using your stupid hunting crap and your sporting crap. So support real lawsuits. Firearm Policy Coalition, Gun Owners of America, Second Amendment foundations are in the trenches. Pick one, back them. Engage locally. City council, state legislature, pass infringement quietly. Show up, testify, write your reps. Don't use sporting crap and don't use hunting crap. Stop it. You look stupid. Exercise your rights responsibly. Train, carry, set example. A culture of safe, responsible ownership undermines every argument for disarmament. Bring your kids, train your kids, let them testify. Educate others with receipts. Share Masons, Cox, and Webster. Quote Heller, McDonald, and Bruen. Most people have never heard the real history. Build a community of readiness. Don't stand alone. Start an organization. Start a neighborhood. Train with family, friends, neighbors. Collective responsibility makes lawmakers think twice, and it makes them poop themselves, especially the liberals. I love it. So the second still matters because liberty still has enemies within. Courts confirmed it. History warns us. Daily life proves it. Patriots protect the right by exercising it, defending it, and refusing to hand it over piece by piece.
The night exploded in a thunderous bang, fighting for brothers, for honor through pain. Fire fights deep, still no retreat. wheels of war by their side. In the soul of Benghazi, they stood, they'd fight.
All right, let's roll into Tig's tips. So skill of the week, a little bit of fun, reload under stress the best you can. If you can do it at a live range, do it at a live range. But when your weapon runs dry, reloading fast and smooth under pressure can save your life or someone else's life. So if you watch a lot of, I don't want to say I love it, but if you watch a lot of cop videos when they're shootouts and stuff, a lot of them panic when their gun goes dry. They don't know really how to reload because they haven't really practiced it under the stress, under stress. And that's why you want to practice under stress. You want to do it so much that you actually have nightmares about doing it. So, nice little setup. If you're going to do it at home, you can do it at home. Have your gear on. However, if you're going to do a battle rattle kind of thing, you know, the LARPing, what people want to call it. I don't think you're LARPing. You're just being prepared. So, but check your firearm, make sure it's unloaded if you're doing it at home. You can use dummy rounds, especially just use one round so you can send the slide home. So other than that, you know, your first mag, have it empty. Have your pistol, have it locked to the rear, your slide locked to the rear. The one magazine is inside the mag well and seated, and you know, you can have as many mags as you want. Just make sure you have them to where you can get them normally. If you normally conceal them, put them concealed. This will really test how well you are. So here's the drill. Again, if you want to do it at a live range, that's fine too. I would just put one round in the mag. Because focus on the drill you want to focus on. Don't try to do multiple ones, because you'll never really improve. Try to focus on the one thing and improve on that first, and then move on to the next. So anyways, I would just do one round per mag if that's what you want to do. That way you can fire the gun and let the slide lock to the rear. So start with the firearm empty, slide lock to the back on a timer. Well, if you can use a timer, I would. It kind of helps a little bit. If you can use like a Mantis system, again, to help time yourself, it's a good thing. So, or you have somebody yell threat. They yell threat. You want to drop the mag as fast as you can with your primary hand, and with your secondary hand moves to your fresh mag. Do not catch your mags. If you're in the habit of catching it, stop it. That's going to get you killed. I guarantee you. You'll think, oh no, I won't. If you do it all the time, it's going to get you killed. Stop doing it. So grab that fresh mag, slam it into the mag well, hit that slide lock, trigger press. See how fast you did it. Try to do the time. If you got 4 mags, 3 mags, 2 mags, 1 mag, do all the mags at the same time, see how long it takes. Or again, you can start with that 1 mag, see how long it takes to do 1 mag, see how long it takes to 2 mags. And when you do it, just time yourself. Try to increase. Try not to go too fast where you're fumbling. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Trust me, it is. It does work like that. The only thing that does suck is if you're doing snap caps or whatever, you're going to have to press the trigger, manually lock the slide back, so that is going to slow you down a little bit. But that made it over time, it also make you a little bit quicker. So I highly suggest you practice this at home, just dumping that 1 mag, hitting that slide lock, pressing the trigger, and then actually doing it at a range. So that'll actually tell you how fast you can actually reload. And again, don't go if you always have a concealed carry, your magazines are always concealed carrying, practice them with concealed carries. If you only practice with them in the open carry because you don't want to look slow at the range, you're stupid. Because when it comes time to reality, when that threat is hitting you, you're probably going to fumble. So don't do that. Don't kill yourself by not practicing the way you actually carry. That goes with the pistol and your magazines, people, not just the way the pistol is. So if you want to add a little bit of stress, a lot of times you can't do this stuff on the range, but you can add push-ups, some burpees, some sprints, whatever you can do. Try to get that heart rate going. That's where that stress comes in. Try to get shaky. You can even get I think I used to have it. I think I moved it when I cleaned my desk. So get the forearm thing. Hold that thing for about 20 seconds. Put it as the highest level as you can and hold it. Make that hand start shaking. That's what's going to happen. I mean, you're going to lose those fine motor skills, the dexterity in your hand. So that's a good stress test. You can do it with your primary hand too, but not too much where the gun flies out of your hand. But it does help a little bit. Do as much as you can to mimic that adrenaline dump. You know, you're going to benefit yourself. Bring your kids. Get your kids involved. They can use Nerf guns. They don't have to use real guns, but, you know, my kids, I started them at 3. They're in the first steel match competition doing reloads at 6. You can teach kids. They're freaking smarter than what you think. I mean, I think we've dumbed our own kids down. You know, back in the day, in our founders' days, hell, they were writing freaking essays and what are the college papers by the time they're 11. Nowadays, they can't even spell 11. So, again, just get your kids involved. If you got guns, get them involved. Don't hide crap from them. So, again, also, here's another fun thing, reload on the move. Don't just reload standing. Run from a location to location. You know, when you get the location, press the trigger. Try to shorten the location up so you kind of shorten up that time you have to actually reload on the move. So, again, there's all kinds of good steps you can do. You know, mark a cover spot, a chair, a doorway, a couch, you know, whatever you can inside your home. Obviously, a lot of places you can't shoot and move. It just kind of sucks, and it just sucks. So just try it. Fun little drill. Do what you can, you know. Try to add the stress if you can. But, you know, always keep your muzzle pointed in the safe direction, especially if you're on the range. Even practice it at home, keep it pointed in the safe direction. That you kind of, especially if you got your kids, it teaches them that discipline of knowing where that muzzle is. So, again, don't just train for the perfect flat-footed range either. Throw some toys around as well. So train for messy reloads. You know, reload when your lungs are burning. That's kind of hard. I mean, run up and down. If you're here in Colorado, run up the. I wouldn't run up it, but the hill climb, and try to do a mag change up there when you get up to the top right away. People might look at you funny, but hell, we're in Colorado. You're allowed to do it. Maybe just don't load it. I don't know. Just be careful about it. Anyways, so your heart's pounding again. You know, you're moving from cover to cover. You know, smooth under stress. That's how you're going to win a fight. You got to practice. You got to do what you can. So, you know, freedom doesn't survive on paper. It's going to survive with the grit of the citizens who stay trained, stay disciplined, and stay free. The founders didn't write the Second Amendment for sport. They didn't write it for hunting. They wrote it so no tyranny, foreign or domestic, could ever put Americans in chains. Train. Know the real reason for the second. If you're going to go up on the hill or wherever you're going to do and fight for it correctly. Not for sport, not for hunting. It's not what it's designed to do. So, well, here's a scripture for you guys. I love this one. Actually, I have this on my cowboy boots. Psalms 144:1. Blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for giving us the tools to defend freedom in our family. Train our hands, sharpen our eyes, keep us responsible stewards for this country and for our rights. May we never abuse it. May we never surrender it, and never give up. In Jesus' name, amen. So this has been the Modern Patriot Podcast. I'm your host, John Tiegen. Never, ever let a lie go unchallenged, and always move forward.
This is the ground God has given. This is our ground forged by pain, by the blood of the lost and the weight of the chains. We fight, we build, we don't bow down. This is our soul, this is our sound. Through ash and echo, we carry the flame. This is our ground. Brothers met brothers on opposite lines. The flag torn in half, soaked in rivers of time. From Gettysburg Hills to freedom's last flame, we rose from the ash to